Okay, so thank you. 406A, continuing the cert 4 in project management. The topic we're going to go through tonight is managing your project team. Okay, so the purpose of tonight is to go through the skills and tools, as in every week, for you to apply your knowledge of analysing team member performance. Okay, so we want to be able to apply your knowledge to the skills and tools required to analyse team member performance, and obviously to be able to manage their performance, you've got to know what they've done and what they should have done, and where the gap is in between. Okay? Providing feedback to team members. Now, team members can be the sponsor, it might be other management, it might be people who are working for you as a, in the project team. So it's a combination of those things, general team management and some providing the project updates from your project out to the people, out to stakeholders who need it as part of your ongoing communication. Now in PMBOK, we're on PMBOK 4, we're actually starting on page 236, which is chapter 9.4. I'm just talking about the managing the project team. Now, when I refer to these specific pages in PMBOK, I'm not saying don't read the rest of it, because I assume that you are. I'm just referring to the pages that I'm going through in this particular presentation. So, at the end of the subject, I would expect that you've actually read the whole of chapter 9 and understood it. I'm not saying you need to know it inside out, but just understand the theory and the principles of it. Okay? If we were going to do a full HR plan for a project, we would include roles and responsibilities. Okay, so we've already discussed roles and responsibilities and finding who to go into the tasks or be applied to the tasks. We have talked about organisational charts and position descriptions. Now the position description I actually uploaded online is an example that you can use to help clarify the skills you need for a particular task. You know, you don't fill in a position description for everybody on the project team, unless it's a really substantial project you're going with a lot of risk involved. But it's there if you need it. Okay, quite often in a HR plan you will also include contractual input, so any other organisations or teams that are actually coming on a contractual basis into the project rather than just your team individual team members. So you might be writing under contract to an organisation to come in and supply windows for a major infrastructure project, for example. So then you would actually have in the contract exactly what they had to provide, what the specifications were, how much they were going to charge, and that becomes the legal management, the legal identification, which is what Rodney's talking about in the diploma or in the masters. So that's when you start looking at more of the legal obligations. And of course a full staff management plan. Now what we've covered so far is roles and responsibilities and the org charts. Now a lot of the other sort of tools that you would use in this would be in a communication plan, and we haven't done communication yet, it's in a separate subject. So things like performance reports, etc. Alright, so where are we at in the project at the moment? In the project we have a work breakdown structure, in theory. You know your stakeholders and what their needs and requirements are, so you've gone through and said, okay, these are all the people that are going to be involved, or organisations are going to be impacted, etc., internal, external, who those people are. And obviously you would identify all the team members and the other resources that are going to be working on the project that you're going to be managing. Alright, now project kick-offs get a bit of a token gesture with some people, but when you do a project kick-off, quite often what the purpose of it is for your team to get to know one another, same as when we want you guys to get to know one another at the beginning of a training session like this. Some project kick-offs will often affect how people relate to one another for the rest of the project, so it's usually a good idea to get them together in a positive environment and start and do something that's usually informal, where you can introduce them and make sure everyone knows who's who in the zoo. Rod, have you got any examples of a project kick-off that you've managed?
Well, basically a lot of the stuff that we've been involved in is, the getting to know you type things, so you can pair people up, sounding them off so that you don't end up with couples together, and they talk about things. And then you have to introduce your partner. There's some different games and that sort of thing that people play, and it's all about people just learning to really communicate without talking, and sort of ensuring that people start sharing information with one another. So other than that, some stuff that we've done is barbecues, morning teas, that sort of thing. It's all about just getting to know one another and understand the people that you're working with, so that you don't really clash when you're getting involved in the project.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of one that I did, when I was talking about the games, etc. I had a project, there was only about eight major people on the team, and I went round each one when nobody else was around, and I found out 4 or 5 things about them that nobody would ever know. One guy who was the straightest guy in the world had been arrested for breaking enter. Apparently got drunk overseas somewhere and fell through somebody's door, and the police turned up at the wrong time and arrested him. And I found out all these things about people that nobody would ever guess. And then on the night when we actually all got together, we had a prize, and I had to read and say, okay, guess which one of the team here is all these things. And the eyebrows were raised, and they were going, who the hell's that, And then they had to try and write down, and who had got all the correct names, the most correct names obviously got the prize. So by doing that, you're actually breaking the ice. You're actually not saying, hi, I'm Trudy, I've done this and this and this, and everyone goes, So by doing something that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more informal, then it breaks down the barriers, and if you can talk to one another, because there's quite often in a project that it's not a competitive environment, but it's actually a very focused and a hard environment to work in, because you're all there and you're trying to get it done. One of the definitions of a project is that it has a start and end date. Otherwise, it's just part of business. A project starts then and finishes then, and so therefore it's quite an intense working environment. So getting your team on board is an important part of it. So you're breaking down barriers. You're working at who's who in the zoo, and you're getting the project purpose and ethos across. You're getting the culture across from day one, so that everyone sort of is on board with it as much as you can.